Are things getting worse for buyers? If you're curious about what's happening nationally and locally here in Southern California, like I am, especially if you're a buyer looking to purchase property later this year, I've been closely following what's happening at the Federal Reserve, Zillow, Redfin, Fannie Mae, and other of the top industries experts, and I'm going to give it to you straight in a quick snapshot of what's happening in the housing market so that you can make an informed decision on whatever you choose to do later this year. Hey, welcome back. My name is Jade if you're new to my channel, and my channel is all about helping sellers with quick and easy advice made simple. As you can see here from Newsweek, it reads, California's housing market is getting worse for buyers. It continues on and says top cities in California are seeing home values grow as competition for properties continues to ramp up, pushing up prices and making buying a house in the state one of the most expensive propositions in the country, according to real estate platform Zillow. Continuing on, it says high prices along with elevated mortgage rates is making home ownership a tough choice for most Americans. And at the national level, a home is worth nearly $356,000, a more than 42% jump from before COVID. And a lot of these high prices have to do with basic economics of supply and demand. And as there has been record low supply of houses on the market, and demand is still high, which is keeping housing prices at a high and still going up despite relatively high interest mortgage rates, especially in the last 2 years compared with the beginning of the pandemic, where rates were hovering around 3%. And high mortgage interest rates are heavily affected by inflation and the federal funds rate. And talking about the federal funds rate, they just had their monthly meeting on May 1st. Everyone has eagerly been waiting whether to see if the federal funds rate will be cut, but that's just not going to happen. What came out in the news was that the federal funds rate is going to hold steady and there won't be any cuts until later on this year, possibly July, September, or even as late as November. As you can see here from NBC News, Federal Reserve keeps interest rates at current levels as inflation holds its grip. It continues on, consumers will have to keep waiting for price increases to slow further, experts say. And the Federal Reserve left its key interest rate unchanged at between 5.25% and 5.5%, the highest level in more than a decade, as annual inflation rates continued to stall. Also, there has been a lack of progress towards the central bank's target of 2% inflation. The consumer price index has come in at 3.5%, which is higher than their target of 2%. Driven by high housing costs, insurance rates, and especially auto insurance. And a statement from the Federal Reserve said economic activity has continued to expand at a solid pace. Job gains have remained strong, and the unemployment rate has remained low. Inflation has eased over the past year, but it remains elevated. Basically, the economy is strong, unemployment is low, and inflation isn't super high, but it isn't as low as the Federal Reserve would like. And while the federal funds rate doesn't directly influence mortgage rates, it does have a very strong influence. So if the federal funds rate is going to hold steady, then mortgage rates likely will not be falling, or if they do fall, it will just be a small percentage. Right now, they are hovering above 7%. And from Fannie Mae, they are singing the same tune, hot economy, inflation likely to keep rates higher for longer. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like mortgage rates are going to be cut just yet, as they predicted at the end of 2023 and at the beginning of this year. The experts are saying the likelihood of rates being cut in the very near future are very, very low, despite rates increasing 0.5% since the beginning of this year. Purchase demand remains steady, so it's going to remain more expensive to buy a home. As you can see here from Freddie Mac, the mortgage rates hit an all-time high back in October at 7.79% for a 30-year fixed-rate mortgage. It dipped down to around in December, hovering steady in January, and then slowly it has been inching up. And here it is at 7.22% at the beginning of May. Hey, real quick, if you found any value in this video, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel for more helpful tips on selling your home or buying. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. My number is in the description below. Moving on to housing supply in California, we'll look at Redfin's numbers. As you can see here, right now, there is 10% more houses, newly listed homes on the market in California, a 10% increase. In the last 4 years, housing supply has slowly dipped down. It was the lowest in December, just a few months ago. When you look at the numbers, California was down 12%, and Los Angeles was down 8.8%. San Diego was down 10%, and San Francisco was down 11%. But now at the end of March, San Diego is up by 15% with 2,182 homes on the market, whereas Los Angeles is just marginally above with 0.6%, and California is up 3.6%. So what does this all mean for buyers? It is very tough out there to get in a house, especially if you're a first-time home buyer, with mortgage rates on the high side and also low supply. It makes purchasing a house very difficult for some buyers. But again, look at your personal situation. Is it the right time for you and your family? Do you have enough savings? Do you have an emergency fund? Is your credit score high? Talk to a mortgage lender if you are thinking about purchasing in the next year, and make those steps to make the right decision for you and your family. If you have any thoughts about what you think is going to happen in the housing market, I would love to hear for what you have to say right in the comments below. And thank you for watching.